Hi there, it's Grandma, and I have a story today. It's kind of a Halloween story because it's about trick-or-treating, and it's called A Tiger Called Tomas. It's written by Charlotte Zoloto. She's written a lot of children's books. And I was reading about her in the back of the book, and it says when she was a little girl, her family moved a lot of times, and she always had to go to a new school and make new friends, and it was hard for her, as I guess it would be. And so she wrote this story about Tomas, and it's about him moving and wondering if he'll make new friends and if anyone will like him. Let's hear the story. There once was a little boy named Tomas. He was very nice, but when he and his family moved to a new house on a new street, he took it into his head that the new people might not like him. So he never left his stoop or the stairs. Why don't you play with that little girl Marie? His mama asked him. Maybe she won't like me, Tomas said. Of course she'd like you, his mama said. Why wouldn't she? Porque no? But Thomas didn't answer. Why don't you visit the lady with the black cat down the street? His mama asked. They may not like me, Tomas said. Of course they'd like you. Why wouldn't they like you? Porque no? Asked his mama. But Tomas didn't go. That tall boy named Gerald looks lonely, his mama said. I don't think he'd like me, said Tomas. Of course he'd like you, said Tomas's mama. Why shouldn't he like you? Porque no? Everybody likes you. But Tomas wouldn't leave his stoop. He sat there and watched when Marie played hopscotch. He sat there and watched the old woman's cat as it prowled through the grass and shrubs. He sat there and watched when Gerald walked past the house, and he thought about how tall he was. Oh, Tomas, said his mama, everyone will like you. Why don't you go play? But Tomas shook his head and just sat on the steps, watching. The lady in the house across the street was always out in her yard, watering the plants, raking the leaves, sweeping the walk, picking her flowers, and all the while Tomas sat on his stoop and watched. He watched the old man who came up the street with his big black poodle 3 times a day. The poodle always looked over his shoulder at Tomas, and its tail stood up like a small palm tree and wagged from side to side. But Tomas just sat on the steps and watched them pass. He watched the sparrows and the grackles and the blue jays in the trees. He watched the black cat look up at the sparrows and the grackles and the blue jays, but he never went off the stoop to play. On Halloween, his mama came home with a tiger costume for him. Try this on, she said. Tomas put on the orange and black striped suit with its quilted tail. He put on the mask with its long whiskers. How do I look? He asked his mama. Exactly like a tiger, she said. Tomas looked in the mirror, and his mama was right. No one will know who I am when I go trick-or-treating, he said. There was a large orange moon in the sky, and it was already getting dark when Tomas went out. The branches of the trees hardly showed except where they were laced across the moon. He crossed the street to the house of the lady who was always outside. The chrysanthemums were still blooming in front of her house. "Trick or treat," Tomas called when he came to the door. "Well, hello," the lady said. She dropped a package of orange candies into his bag. "Happy Halloween." "Thank you," answered the tiger. "You're welcome, Tomas," the lady said, closing the door. Under his mask, Tomas flushed. "That's funny," he said to himself. She called the tiger Tomas. At the next house, he rang the bell. "Trick or treat," he called. Marie's mother opened the door. She had candy apples for the treat. "Oh, thank you," the tiger said, for he especially liked candy apples. "You're welcome," said Marie's mother. "Marie is a witch tonight. Maybe you'll pass her. But anyway, come and play hopscotch here tomorrow, Tomas." "Thank you," Tomas said again. But when the door closed, he reached up to feel his mask. It was still on, covering his whole face. "That's funny," he thought. "She knew who I was, too." He passed a tall ghost going up to the house as he left. He couldn't see the ghost's face, but there was something very familiar about this figure. "Hi, Tomas," said the ghost. "Want to play horseshoes tomorrow? I got a new set." "Sure," said Tomas. The ghost was Gerald. Thomas could tell by the height. He went to the old man's house. The black poodle threw back his head and barked wildly when he saw the tiger at the door. But when he sniffed at the tiger's feet, and he sniffed at the tiger's quilted tail, he suddenly put up his own palm tree tail and wagged it hard. "Trick or treat," said the tiger. The old man had made big pumpkin cookies. "Fresh baked, Tomas," he said, winking as he dropped one in the bag. "Best thing for tigers," he added, and he winked again as he watched the tiger go down the steps. He called the tiger Tomas too, thought Tomas. Now he rang the bell of the house of the old lady and the black cat. "Trick or treat," he called. Come in," the little old woman said. Her black cat looked curiously at the tiger, and the tiger reached out to stroke the cat's black, slippery fur. "He loves that," the little old lady laughed. "Come play with him again, Tomas," she said. "He gets lonely." "So do I," said Tomas. She knew too, he thought to himself as he turned toward home. The strange moon was a little higher in the sky. The orange moon was a little higher in the sky. The sky was a little blacker than before. He couldn't see any of the branches against it now. A group of ghosts and goblins was coming down the steps of the lady across the street, and a solitary but familiar-looking witch with her broom under her arm passed him. He looked at her curiously as he walked slowly toward the steps of his house. It was Marie. "Hi, Tomas," called Marie. Tomas walked upstairs to his own room. He looked in the mirror at the tiger. The tiger in the mirror looked back at him, whiskers and all. Have a good time? Asked his mama. How did they know who I was? Tomas asked. Did they? Said his mama. Yes, Tomas said. The mask didn't fool them a bit, and they all asked me to come back. I guess they all like you, his mama said. Tomas looked at her. Suddenly he felt wonderful. Marveloso! Oh, I like them too, he said. And when he took off his mask, he was smiling. The end. All right. It's kind of an interesting story, and from what I found out was when the story was first written, it was called A Tiger Called Thomas, and it was re-illustrated and reissued with, instead of a boy was a white boy with white skin, with black skin. And this is the newest edition, which came out in 2018, and now it's called A Tiger Called Tomas, and it's about a Latino boy with brown skin. So it's kind of an interesting twist on the story. Well, I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you guys have a great time trick-or-treating and wearing a mask, but I think your friends will all know who you are. All right, have fun. Hope you enjoyed the story. Grandma loves you.